morning. We're just going to start with a quick film to give you a sense of the world that we come from at Jaguar Land Rover.
That's a great video to set the tone. Obviously, we're here to talk about experiential, as Jeff and Kim just alluded to. I think a couple of just setting expectations. The promises of this conversation is, I was in yesterday's session, heard a lot of great information about data scrubbing, clean rooms, AIs. I don't think that's going to be part of this conversation. This is sort of a departure from that, which I think is like seeing brands come to life and seeing consumers interacting and sharing those authentic experiences, which is what I think a lot of people in experiential love. Just a quick show of hands, who is actively involved in creating experiential programs? It's a good showing. Everybody else is experiential curious, I assume? I'm glad to have you both here. So, Stuart, why don't we start with, maybe can you share a little bit about your role at Jaguar Land Rover and what you're doing together with the team?
Sure, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out to this event. It is great to see a whole gathering of people who specialize in the world of brand experience. I'm Director of Communications for Jaguar Land Rover in the United States, and our team oversees everything that's consumer-facing in terms of promotion for our four brands, which is Range Rover, which is sort of the iconic luxury SUV of them all. Discovery is our versatile family SUV. Jaguar, the iconic luxury sports car from Great Britain, which is going through a transformation right now to be reborn as an all-electric brand in another year from now. And then Defender, which is in some ways our oldest brand, but also our newest brand, because we never really branded it such as Defender, but we do now, and a lot of what we'll talk about today is for our Defender brand. So we have four brands at JLR, and our team oversees the advertising, the public relations, the CRM, and the brand experience, everything that faces consumers. We're trying to build these brands and sell cars.
So with that aspect of the marketing mix that you're responsible for, what role does experiential play for your brand portfolio or individual brands per se under the portfolio?
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever we look at a brand challenge, whether it be a launch of a new product, a launch of a new brand, or a need to sell more vehicles or to change perception of vehicles, we look at all the sort of disciplines that we have in the marketing side and say, like, okay, what's the right mix for this particular challenge? And brand experience really plays a pivotal role when it comes to launching new products and defining a brand, giving a brand a personality, bringing it to life, and is really a platform for storytelling that we do for the brand. So we always like to think of our brand experience activities as both being a physical manifestation of the brands on the ground, but then also a platform for communications that we can do nationwide or worldwide even to tell the story and ultimately define the brand. So it's really right there with everything we do. And this video that I just showed wasn't specifically supposed to be a brand experience video. It actually was our CEO's like year in review kind of highlight video back to the employees for a town hall. And those of us on the brand experience team are sort of sitting back and watching and be like, God, that's our highlight reel. We really are at the core of everything the company does and the excitement that we create. And so that was very gratifying. And then you look at it and you say, now I have to do it all over again for the coming year.
Yeah, I was just going to hit on that in terms of different organizations, while committed to experiential, some it's like a nice to have, others are critical. Where does that fall within your priorities in terms of marketing mix?
It's really interesting. I think every marketing discipline can come under attack at a certain time when times are tough or priorities change or executive preferences change. I think we all know that. Brand experience has sort of had its ups and downs at my company, and certainly during COVID and right before COVID, we had some economic challenges in the company. It was sort of going down. We were sort of looking at, well, what can we cancel? And at that time, it seemed like events might be something that could be cancelable, very easily canceled. But then vice versa, when we get back into launch mode and rebuilding the brands and communicating, it's been the fastest growing area in our budget, if that's an indicator of what we do. And so because it's so emotional and because people get so charged up at these events and they rally around them, and I think people are starting to learn. People are starting to learn that the events are more than for the 1,000 people that attend or the 500,000 people, whatever it is. It could be 300. Whatever it is, the programs that we do are for so much more than just those attendees. I often joke that the people who come to our events are like extras in an advertisement. They just don't know it. Though we do make them sign a release, I think, when they come to let us feature them in film. You have to maximize the opportunities you have with these brand experience programs. And I believe that we're pretty good, and I believe that our organization is on the upswing as it comes to brand experience, which is a positive place to be. And there are more and more great ideas and new ideas, and we're adding stuff. And so that's the next challenge for the team: is how do you digest and add and grow, with a defined team. It's a good challenge to have, I suppose.
It's a great challenge to have. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So you hit on storytelling. That's one of the beauties of those of us involved in experiential. Love the opportunity to storytell. You talk about other marketers and other disciplines and channels. They're dealing with 15-second constraints, 30-second constraints. We have dwell time of 20, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour and a half, depending on what kind of experience we're curating. And you have this ability to just have this long-form storytelling or even story sharing when it's authentic and you build a community around that. Can you talk a little bit about what the philosophy has been for that?
Sure. It's an interesting topic, dwell time. It's something we used to evaluate quite a bit when, as a car company, we used to do auto shows a lot more than we do now. And so we would measure the dwell time in minutes. Somebody would come by your stand and they were there for 5 minutes, and you'd think, okay, that's more than watching an ad for 30 seconds. Now with the programs that our team does, we can measure dwell time in hours and sometimes days. So we have people really committing time to be with us, and then you have to figure out, well, what are you going to do with them? What do people do when they're spending that kind of time with you? Because it has to be a combination of, I don't know why this keeps going up, but things related to what you're selling, which is a car, so taking a test drive, or configuring a vehicle on like a configurator, or doing the off-road course, or talking to a product specialist. These are like the sort of car-related things that you can do, but we want to entertain them as well. And so we might do everything from create your own custom perfume to going fly fishing. There's just so many different kind of activities that may align with your given brand. And so we want people to spend time with us, and maybe we've never mapped it out exactly, but it's probably 50-50. Like, we want you to spend time with us doing car-related stuff versus just enjoying our hospitality and having fun with us. And we always have to have a balance of both, or people won't want to spend time with you.
So Your CEO is showing in town hall your body of work as the sizzle reel. Your experiential spending is on the upswing. You're investing in it. It's critical to the marketing mix. Obviously, you're doing a lot right. It must start with setting the objectives when you're working to build out an experiential program. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of objectives you work against for some of these initiatives?
Yeah, I actually think, I hate that word objectives, but I like strategy better. Strategy is easier
Share
to
a
talk
little bit
about.
about your strategy.
And don't even say metrics. I don't want to hear about it. When we're at our best is when we start with a strategy and a purpose for doing a brand experience activity. And so I can give you some examples, do some of that storytelling, some of the things we talked about. I'll start with one, we can show you a film about it. One of our signature activities called Range Rover House. So the Range Rover brand is, as I said, our premier luxury brand, and it's a brand that we've been very successful with in the United States for many years. We're the largest market in the world for Range Rover. We're the only market in the world that our #1 selling vehicle is our most expensive selling vehicle. And so Range Rover United States is huge. And we built up this loyal customer base for so many years, but we never really did any marketing that spoke to them as a community and as loyal customers. And so the idea, it actually came from overseas, but we actually defined it to have Range Rover House, which would be a hosted space somewhere where people are, and they can come and enjoy Range Rover experiences and Range Rover hospitality. It seems sort of straightforward. But at its root, it's trying to give Range Rover customers something extra that they could feel like they got more by being one of your customers. And they feel like they're part of a community of other people with good taste and affluence and success. And it gives them sort of bragging points. They can talk about, oh, when I was at this event, I stopped in a Range Rover House and had a wonderful time. And I'm going to come back to Range Rover House. And all of a sudden it becomes part of like, this is the brand, Range Rover, and our hospitality represents our affection for our clients. So we do 2 a year currently in the United States, and about 40 of them take place around the world. They're temporary events, they're not permanent facilities. And as one example, we do it in Monterey, California during Monterey Car Week, which is a classic automobile event that people who are car enthusiasts around the world all go to California for 1 week in August, and everyone's incredibly rich and affluent, and they're actually driving around the Monterey Peninsula looking for things to do, which is an unusual event opportunity. They're all there, and they're open to invitations and to do things. They're stopping at car auctions and car shows and invited to dinners from other luxury brands as well. So we created an oasis, a place where they could just come and get away from all the the hustle and bustle for 30 minutes to a few hours, and all kinds of lifestyle activities are going on there. My favorite was when they help identify what your color palette is for your clothing. So there's a person who will put all different kind of colors over your shoulder and match, hey, for you, these colors are what look good on you. And there was a line for that event. Everyone loved doing that. And then you get a little personal color wheel afterwards. People make their own custom perfume. People come for private dinners. There's all kinds of activities. People also go for test drives. And so all this is happening, and people are all talking about what it means to be a Range Rover owner. And they're feeling good about being a Range Rover owner. And now we literally have people asking us, when's the next one, and scheduling trips around coming to a Range Rover House. So we have one in California, we have one in Park City, Utah during the heart of ski season. And customers love it.
We have a video. Would you like to show the video?
Sure.
Can we prompt that up?
I don't think my color palette. So one other thing I wanted to say about this execution is that whenever you're hosting your customers, it's an opportunity to show your, hospitality and your affection for these clients. And so every single person who walks into Range Rover House is personally greeted. Their name's pulled up. We have a profile of them. We know if they've come before. We know if they came last year, if they went to a different one. We know which cars they've owned. And then we give them a personal tour of the house and show them a schedule of activities and ask them if they want to schedule anything. And that sort of personal concierge service is a lot of extra work, and it's not easy because we probably have 2,500 guests over 4 days. It's not small, and we had the opportunity that we had guests who also went to some other car brands do similar things to this, though we feel like ours is superior to theirs. But in other brands, other top luxury brands, people just walked in and walked out. There wasn't any sense of hospitality. There wasn't any sense of a personal welcome. And I think that's one of the elements that we try and do a little differently as a small brand.
I think it's a great example. Given our session is how to define how experiential can define your brand. You look at that, it defines ultra luxury. It has community. It has the hospitality. It has so much of what you're talking about from a strategy perspective. What's the goal there?
The strategy there is loyalty. But it's also creating a sense of, gosh, that's a brand I want to be a part of, and getting that story out, that's what Range Rover stands for, and I want to be a part of it. So it's rooted in loyalty, but it's also defining the brand for others in terms of how we engage our clients and what we do. And I know we're tight on time, so I wanted to talk about another one of our initiatives that's slightly different, and that is the Defender brand and how we've had to launch that. So Defender is only in the United States for the last 5 years. It's a car that we've sold around the world as a really rugged utility vehicle for the last 50 years, but it wasn't in the United States. And we brought it back as a new modern vehicle and a new modern brand, and so we had to reintroduce it here in the United States. And so we've done a number of really interesting things, some on the conquest side, just to introduce ourselves to new people, because that would be the strategy for Defender. Within Defender, the car was most known for like that rugged, going off-roading in the mud, being dirty kind of lifestyle. And that's really appealing, that's really attractive, but it's also somewhat limiting, and there's not enough people that make that want that to be their lifestyle, and they want that to be their personality. So we've been trying to figure out how to expand the definition of Defender lifestyle and what it means. And so we decided there's lots of different areas you can go. When everyone who here does sponsorships, they know you could sponsor Formula One racing, you could sponsor a football match, you can sponsor an off-road running race, whatever it is. And we chose to get into the music space because people are so passionate about live music, and people go on road trips to live music festivals and concerts. And so we partnered with Live Nation to be able to reach new customers for Defender and show the Defender brand in a slightly different way than they might normally see it. But we still wanted it to be rooted in the personality of Defender, so we chose 3 music festivals, venues to be a part of with Live Nation. One was a hip-hop festival in Raleigh, North Carolina with J. Cole, 50,000 people, huge. We made content with some of the artists who were down there. It was really an opportunity to present the car in a different light than we had before. And then secondly, we partnered with The Gorge, which is a venue in Washington, one of the premier live music venues in the world, really known for its being out in amazing nature. And so we were the sponsor of the VIP camping area for the entire season at The Gorge. And then just recently, some of us on the team had the pleasure of being out in Southern California for the Ohana Festival, which is Eddie Vedder's beachside music festival where Pearl Jam plays every year. And so you're on the beach, you've got surfboards, you've got palm trees, you've got live music, and it was really a perfect bringing to life the image of a defender on the beach with a surfboard in Malibu. Like, that lifestyle is very attractive and very appealing, and so we wanted to bring that to life at a music festival. And so even there at Ohana Festival, we activated by inviting all the VIP customers to come down to the beach for a morning beach breakfast event where you had surf lessons, you had yoga on the beach, you had live music, and you had like a luxury buffet of breakfast all on the beach, all brought to you by Defender. So it's like trying to get that sense of outdoor adventure, but from a different perspective than just going off-roading and getting muddy. But that's all based in strategy. That's what we were trying to achieve. And then the challenge is executing it, bringing it to life on the ground, and then capturing all that content on film and telling the rest of the world. I don't have a video on that. Maybe we'll skip the other video because we're running out of time. But that's an example of outreach for conquest based on a strategy.
So you're using your bespoke events like a Range Rover to build community, and the strategy there is loyalty. And some of the sponsorships that you're building out now, you're looking for authentic moments for the brand where you can create, not just show up at Sponsor Village, and using that for conquest to help the goal of acquiring new consumers.
Right. But it has to say something really specific about the personality of the brand. That's the key. It's not just about who. There's plenty of things you can do with there's affluent customers that you could have them spend time with your car. But if there's not a deeper connection, it's a bit more authentic, it feels natural, and it gives you a platform for storytelling and creating that content, that's where the magic comes in. That's when it really starts to elevate what it does for the brand. And we also, for all these things that we do, we have media partners. Some are in the room today, like Outside.com. They'll come and participate in the event, and then they'll make films and assets at the event, and then promote that with advertising to their audiences. So we're just, as a given, for everything we do, we're creating that storytelling, and then, with CRM, PR, paid advertising, we're telling those stories, across the country.
Legendary brands, epic experiential programs. I think this is a great way to kick off today's track. I know we've just got a couple of minutes. I'd open it up to any questions.
Well, I'm admittedly a fanboy. I'm on my third Land Rover. Awesome. And the Defender's the latest one, so super excited to get my vacation.
Get that man a sweatshirt.
I know. Yeah. So it's a very crowded space.
Right. Your luxury automobile SUV space, right? And how do you? So being a customer, right? There's disconnects when you're at the dealer, you're at the Carmel event, you're at the house thing, what jurisdiction do you have and how are you mapping those disconnects? Because recently, the CEO of Ford, Farley, talked about the disconnects, right? With the dealers, with the customer, with the transactional aspect of the business in general, right? You're not going to auctions anymore. So now where you're getting more intimate and more personalized engagement, how do you then go downstream across all those different?
It's a real challenge because we talked about all the different ways you could bring brand experience to life. You can use CRM, you can use PR, you can use advertising, but also having our retailers involved and having the retailers invite customers to the event as like a thank you is a really big part. And then when they're at our events, being able to collect their information and answer their questions and then direct them back to the retailers. It's quite complicated. And we're still a small brand. We have maybe 200 Land Rover dealers. So it's not that big an audience to connect with. But we're constantly trying to figure out how to improve that connection, improve the way that our events are used for the retailers to engage their clients. I don't think we're at the point yet where every single time a client comes to one of our events, we know and are prepared to talk about like all the issues they've had with their car. But we are prepared to like collect their data, collect their information, and follow up with anyone if they have questions. And I think we all strive to do a better job of communicating to our dealers, to have them communicate to our customers, and even have the dealers do events. So it's a weak link in the business, but it's a really difficult one to overcome. I know we're going to run out of time, but I guess the last thing I wanted to say is my team knows this. I'm somewhat new to the brand experience world. I grew up in the business as a PR person, working side by side with the brand experience team. And I always laugh because they hated to be called the events team. They wanted to be called the brand experience team. And I've, of course, learned why, and now I understand it. And I think it's a really unique discipline, and it's a unique combination of having to be really creative and then also having to be like incredibly operational and detail oriented at the same time, and then perform under pressure live, away from your homes and families. It's not an easy thing, but the people who are good at it are really kind of amazing. So glad to be part of the team.
Well said. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, everyone.